welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia. I'm an Auckland wedding photographer and your host. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Lucy Burke, Managing Director of Lucy's Event Hire. What began 10 years ago in her Mount Maunganui home, making tables and chairs for a friend's wedding, has now grown into one of New Zealand's leading event hire companies, with locations across the North Island and a huge team supporting hundreds of weddings each season, as well as different commercial events too. In this episode, Lucy shares the behind-the-scenes realities of a marquee and furniture hire business, the biggest trends she's seen lately, practical advice for couples planning their day, and why having a plan B is absolutely essential. Whether you're planning a marquee wedding where you're basically building a venue from scratch, or just a backyard wedding that you need a few pieces of furniture, everyone will take away something from this conversation. Lucy has so much insight and experience, and I know you're going to love this chat. So let's get into it. Enjoy episode 112 with Lucy. Hi Lucy, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
You're welcome.
You're an incredible vendor, been in the industry for a while and built an amazing business. So excited to chat to you all about that and get some tips and advice for couples.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good. So to get started with, if you could just tell me a bit about you, your kind of background, and how Lucy's came to life.
Cool. So my name is Lucy and I am the Managing Director of Lucy's Event Hire. Right now I'm here in the Bay of Plenty in Mount Maunganui, where our head office is. And then we're also based in Auckland and in Palmerston North. So we cover the whole of the North Island. We are an event hire company that looks after you from anything from marquees to furniture to coordination, styling. And we have been in business now for 10 years. So Lucy started back 10 years ago here in Mount Maunganui with just myself and my husband at the time, who we decided to make some tables and chairs for a friend of ours who was from Sydney, but getting married here in the Bay, and just couldn't find anything that was really up to the standard and the style that she was after. And back then there was really not a lot going on in the space. I knew nothing about that space. My background is actually in costume design. So I had just had a baby, and my friend had asked me if my husband would make these pieces for her wedding, and then within maybe the space of a week or so, I had turned it into a business and we started from there. So it all started in my house and has grown into the absolute huge, crazy world that Lucy's is today.
Oh, so cool. Love that. And I was just saying to you off mic, I loved listening to your podcast with Katie, the Super Creative podcast. Definitely recommend that one if you guys haven't heard of it before. But so cool to hear in depth about your whole business journey there too. So make sure you have a listen to that. And can you talk to us a little bit about those early days in the business? What did it look like, and how you've evolved since then?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, like I said, we started with, I'm pretty sure it was about 10 or 12 wooden tables, and they were made with bench seats for our friend's wedding. And pretty quickly, once I had built a website, and it was kind of the start and the rise of Instagram, I started posting about this product and getting the word out there. But it did start in my house, and then we eventually were able to get a really small shed where we started putting the product in, and people could come and pick it up, and we were hiring trucks to go and deliver places. It was there was no strategy, there was no rules back then. We just kind of were trying to make it work. It was really ad hoc. I had no business experience. I had never run a company before, and it really just was friends of friends and kind of a really small side business to begin with. But pretty early on, I saw the need and the demand for something in this industry. And the more I learned about the industry, the more I kind of started to evolve the company. So it started off just me. And over the years, it's grown into now we have in the height of our season up to 55, 60 staff members. We have a lot of trucks on the road at one time, and we hold, I would have absolutely no idea. People ask me all the time how many like chairs I have and stuff like that. I have no idea. Like, I honestly don't have a
Warehouse
clue,
is
but it'd
full.
be thousands and thousands of chairs. And I think at the moment about 30 something marquees.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
incredible. That just started out of your house and then
Yeah. Yeah.
come to
And I
now.
truly believe like that sometimes is, I guess when you're, 10 years ago, I was a lot younger. And I never said no. I never kind of had the fear of failure. And so I really just saw the need, saw the demand, and listened to the clients that were coming through the company and kind of built it from there.
Yeah, amazing. That naivety in business
Oh
is
my God,
powerful,
it's
right?
wild. I don't have one tiny bit of it anymore. I've lost it all. There is no naivety anymore. But yeah, so that was how I started. I started with one child who was about, I think he was one and a half when I started. And then a second one came along, and I've just kind of done that and been a mother alongside growing a business.
Yeah, incredible. So cool. How do you stay inspired and kind of keep the whole collection, all your hire things fresh and on trend? Are you sourcing and looking for stuff all the time? Where do you sort of get that creative direction from?
So when I started, I really, because I started with no budget and no money behind the company, I really had to think intelligently about what I was bringing in and be really clear with that kind of vision. So my aim was always to be kind of the building blocks to our client style. So to keep it really simple, really chic, really minimal, and then let our clients kind of create their own style on top of that. And obviously, the larger we've grown, the more we've had room to really start that creative journey within the company. I am not going to give a lot of credit to myself, the creative part of it. There is people in this company who are incredible at what they do and have the most insane vision in terms of kind of the next strategy, the next steps, and building our inventory collection. I mean, we go to the ones that everyone else is going to the same way our brides are looking at socials, they're looking at Pinterest, they're looking at Instagram, looking at TikTok, all that kind of stuff. We do that too. But on top of that, and something that has kind of always been our ethos since we started the company, is that we listen to our clients and we listen to our vendors. So I have really in-depth conversations. More I talk to our vendors than I do talk to our clients, in terms of the rest of the team is talking to the clients a lot. And I do still have that one-on-one with them. But a lot of the time our vendors are the visionaries. So they're the ones that are coming up with these crazy ideas or looking to overseas. And for example, we had one vendor who wanted to create a specific flooring inside a marquee that was raised and also looked like concrete.
Wow.
And you can only imagine that that's not very easy to source. And it's also something that we're really proud of in our company, that we are that nimble and we're able to have these creatives within the company who can actually do that. So, if a vendor comes to us with these ideas and they have this kind of vision, we're able to create it for them. So the concrete flooring is happening. And kind of that is where I see the biggest inspirations coming from, is that our clients and our vendors are doing a lot of the work for us. They're scouring Pinterest, they're scouring socials, they're thinking outside the box in terms of interiors and all that kind of stuff, and then they're coming to us. So we've always listened, and we will continue to listen to everyone that kind of comes through the company.
Yeah, I love that. It really is a collaborative process for weddings and
Yeah,
just
I
everyone
think
coming
so.
together.
And
Yeah.
I think the fact that, it's like fashion. We're evolving consistently, and then you see trends come back. I was talking to a vendor the other day about how, the biggest request we're getting for next season is a checkered dance floor. And like, I don't know about you, but like early 2000s, that was a real big thing. And now it's come back. So it is very much like fashion in that sense. And it's really important that we keep on top of it, but our clients and our vendors are telling us what is next.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, that was kind of my next question. Are there things that you're seeing from your clients or weddings that you're working with at the moment? Any sort of trends that you're noticing right now or coming up?
Yeah, so definitely the dance floor, but I think it's flooring in general. So something that I explain a lot to our clients is that a lot of our weddings are based on farms or on, grass properties, stuff like that. Flooring is not made to sit on grass. So what we've had to do is go back to the drawing board and actually work with builders to create custom flooring that is specific to these venues. So now that we've built kind of the solid foundation for flooring, is that now we're seeing quite a trend in different, like I said, the concrete, the checkered. We've got wood vinyls coming in, like a really huge range of different flooring options, which I think is really trend driven at the moment. On top of that, we're seeing a massive amount of a lot of our clients, even though we're just like, the hire, they'll send us their inspiration, their Pinterest boards and stuff like that. And I am obsessed with people like letting us into their planning journey. And a lot of our clients are draping, but not just your everyday draping. I'm seeing a lot of draping over bars, bar leaners, over a lot of our furniture, not just a basic linen, a lot of very heavy draping going into our marquees, which is really interesting. So that is definitely a trend that we've seen on top of flooring. And then I guess the other big one is we're seeing colour come back. I feel like for years we've seen very minimal, very clean, very chic weddings, but now we're seeing really cool colorways and kind of pushing the color trend even further, not just little accents, like full color. And I love it. I think it's really cool. I think at the end of the day, your wedding is about you. It's about your personality. And you don't want to be looking back on this wedding in 20 years and going, why did I do that? Why did I spend all that money and I don't even love it? So it's really cool to see people's personalities starting to come in.
Yeah, love that. Definitely been noticing some of that as well. And yeah, I just love when people go bold and step away a bit from the minimal, just do some
I
color.
know, I'm
Yeah,
real
so
into it. And
good.
it's not just like the color, for a while there, people were still really pulled back. They were choosing color, but maybe only in their florals or only in their linen or something like that. But now I'm seeing people being a lot more bold. And I think that's thanks to social media in a lot of ways, is that we're seeing overseas trends where people are doing this and taking big risks. And I think that we're slowly getting that in New Zealand, which is really cool.
Yeah, I love that. For couples that are just starting on that whole wedding planning journey, where should they begin, especially when it comes to hire? Because, like you say, you kind of are the base to a lot of other things, the marquee, the furniture, whatever that looks like. And can you talk us through a bit of that process of what it looks like to work with you and your team and the timeline there?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time we are one of the first vendors that the communication starts with. So we really are that building block. So whether you're doing a full marquee wedding with us or you're just doing tables and chairs, a lot of the time we will be that starting point. And I think that's great because once you start working with us, we kind of help you along your journey as much as we can to kind of build out the rest of your wedding. When you kind of start getting in touch with us, we really ask a lot of quite in-depth questions. And if you do work with us, you will figure out very quickly. And I think this comes from me as the person I am, but I am an over communicator. So we kind of, we ask a lot of questions in the beginning to get a real feel for what is going to be happening, what their ideas are, what their visions are, and also their budgets and stuff like that, because we never want people to feel, one, like they can't come to us and get what they want, but two, I want people to be realistic about their budgets and what they can achieve within them. So basically, whether it's a marquee wedding, a furniture wedding, we gather that information, you get quoted throughout the process. And I think one big thing that I push clients in communication to begin with is, one, this is your wedding day. Make sure you're getting things that you want to have and you feel are necessary for your day. Two, make sure that you're thinking practically. So although we love a style, we love a trend, we love all of that, these are really practical items as well, and they're going to house your guests or, look after your guests throughout the entire the wedding journey of that day. And also think about what you need versus what you don't need. I think that a lot of the time you can get really overwhelmed with so many aspects of what you need to hire, but if you can double down on an item and use it multiple times throughout a day, then that's something that we try and push as well. So it's really about, if people are coming to us, they're starting their process, it's about communication and about figuring out how we can help you to create your vision.
And do you kind of do a few meetings? I guess it's just like communicating over those months leading up to their day. And what does that?
Yeah, basically, once you book with us, that's where the process begins. So we created, oh my God, it was so many years ago now. The bigger we got and the more clients we had per year, we felt that because we're still a really small team, like an office team, we're very small. There was a lot of things because, 99% of our clients have not had a wedding before. And they're also not planning big events day in and day out. So it's actually really, really overwhelming. So something that we created was what we called the Lucy's portal, which is basically I kind of describe it as the Bible of working with us. So it is so interactive. There's so many areas within it. And that's kind of where our clients get sent to begin with. And then our in-house team, we do 6, 3, and 1 month. So that's how much we communicate with our clients. And that's everything from checklists to remember things or what you've forgotten. A lot of people forget that it gets dark at night, and have you remembered that you need lights? Yes. Or, do you have extension cords and all that kind of stuff, down to showroom appointments, custom floor plans, all that kind of stuff. It's all part of the process with us. So there are so many elements that come through once you've booked with us, and little touch points that go throughout that process of what is usually around 12 to 18 months that people are working with us. But that client portal is like worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. Such a good, resource for your clients.
Yeah, because really at the end of the day, it's overwhelming. You're not doing this kind of thing every day unless you're an event planner.
Planners.
Yeah, nobody, 1% of people have even planned one event before they're planning their own wedding. And you've got so many people, we all know that when you're planning your wedding, there is a lot of cooks in that kitchen and a lot of people giving opinions. And sometimes you just need an outside source like us. And the amount of times that we get phone calls in the office or just a quick email being like, I feel overwhelmed, can you help us? It's like, yeah, of course we can. It's all part of it. And anything to make people less stressed, I will do.
Absolutely. Love that. Touching on the budgeting side of things, obviously it's different for every single wedding, depending what they want, if they're, building from scratch or whatever.
Yes.
But it can be hard to know how much to set aside for that. Do you have kind of any ballpark idea, even like a percentage of what people should allocate, what part of their budget they should put towards that or expect to invest in those kind of higher items?
So I think that, we do everything from a backyard wedding to the full marquee, flooring, planning, everything type of wedding. So it really is, there's a massive scale in terms of how much people spend with us. I think first thing you should do is to set a list of priorities and what actually matters to you. So if you don't care about a chair, but you care about your catering and what you're feeding people, put more budget into that. Don't worry about the chair. The chair, just pick a very simple chair. But I think that, I don't know what a percentage would be. I actually have no idea, but it's such a hard question. But I think it's a priorities thing and working out your entire budget and then working backwards from there. But something that we created in the last 6 months, which has been a game changer for our clients, because we're always the first one. So people will go, okay, I know I need a marquee. I'm getting married on my parents' property, so I'm going to book that in first. So they come to us, they book the marquee, and then they go, okay, now I'm going to go away and talk to florists and talk to catering and all that kind of stuff. So what we created, because we were getting asked a very similar question quite often, or that kind of, just a lot of back and forth, was we created within our client portal what's called the Lucy's budget tracker. And so basically, once you book with us and you get sent through to the portal, you also get sent through to this tracker. And it is, 10 years of experience on dealing with clients and vendors and stuff like that, that we created this. So our brides and grooms had somewhere to go and start entering all that into the system. So basically, it is a full spreadsheet, budget tracking, wedding planning, RSVPs, everything like that is given to our clients free of charge. But it's kind of a win-win. It's a win for our clients, and it's a win for us, because that feeling of overwhelm that our clients were getting was then coming into our office, and we were having to answer so many little questions, that now we've given them this tool that they can go and do that themselves. And I think that budget is huge. We live in an economy now where that is front of mind for everybody. And I think that having somewhere to put everything, to work it all out, and to figure out your priorities is really important.
Yeah, so good. That's such an amazing resource for them.
And I think it's just, at the end of the day, this is a really big moment, and it should be, but the thing is that we should be all doing it on a budget that's realistic for us. So, what one person's budget is not going to be the other person's. So having that resource to really work it all out is really important to me for my clients.
Yeah, I think just chatting to vendors, being upfront with it. I've had a few brides I've talked to that are like, oh, we didn't realize the pack in and out costs, or just like we're stung with these extra things, which I don't know if some businesses aren't as upfront, or they just haven't read their contracts in fine print
and
properly.
I think that's another thing, is that please read everything.
Yes.
So for us at Lucy's, everything is upfront. So there's no changes in costs, unless you obviously add something on or anything like that. So it will include delivery, staffing costs, all those overheads that come with, especially building marquees. And, for some people that is just flat out of their budget, and we appreciate that so much, especially when people communicate with that with us. But it is a huge amount of work to build a wedding. Like, I think that that's a massive misconception, is that I've had clients say, oh, so you'll be on site for like maybe an hour? I'm like, no, mate, we'll be there for 9.
Building a structure, like a house.
I'm building
almost,
a house. Like literally building a huge structure. And, there's 6 guys on site that are 10 times bigger than me, and they, are there for at least 9 hours. So it's, once you kind of have that insight into what goes into something like this, is that then you realize why it costs that much.
Yeah, I think, like you say, there is this big misconception, especially with like marquee weddings, and people are like, oh, we're just going to do it on the family farm. We're going to save all this money on the venue. And I'm like, actually kind of costs as much to build it from scratch.
From what I kind of know, it's pretty similar in price. I mean, there are so many reasons why outside of price that people choose to do it that way. And I think, it's such a special thing being able to get married on a family property or something like that. But yeah, the misconceptions around the amount of work that goes into it and the costs are probably the biggest ones.
So you do all different sizes of events, big and small, for those kind of couples that are wanting to plan a really beautiful day but might have a bit tighter budget. What can they kind of do to still have those high impact areas, but spend and prioritize what they need to?
Yep, I totally think that, first off, I always say to people when they have absolutely no idea in terms of what they need to hire is, how is your day running? How are you feeding people? How, are people, is there a bar service? Is it free for all? How is that day running? And then work backwards from there. And I think that you can do amazing things on a small budget. Like, I think that there is a massive misconception that you have to spend a hell of a lot of money to make things beautiful. You do not. And I think that it's about being creative, it's about being resourceful, and it's about working out those priorities. So if those priorities are you want everyone sitting down to eat together, and like that, I think that's one of the most beautiful moments of a wedding, is the fact that everybody you love is sitting down to share a meal together. Like, to me, that's the best thing that could possibly happen. And so if that's your priority, you work on tables and chairs. You can go, there's so many different elements in terms of how you dine, but we've made sure that we have plastic tables for those on a budget that just want to put some nice linen over top of it, through to high-end tables. We have a new table that's coming in for next season, which is going to be really expensive because it is, a beautifully made, very high-end table. So you've got those options. If you're really on a budget, make sure you're scouring through these hire companies and figuring out if you can get linen for a certain price to cover a plastic table. Like, there are so many ways to go around things. And I also think a massive thing is to reuse the items that you're hiring. So a lot of people will ask, oh, can I use the same chair for my ceremony as my dining? Absolutely, you can. I would be. Like, if your ceremony is, 5 meters from your reception, move those chairs. So it's finding ways that you can utilize and reuse items, I think, is a really important aspect too. And once you figure out that day and how it's all going to flow, then it's a lot easier to figure out what you need and don't need.
Yeah, such great advice. We've touched on a few things already, but are there any other sort of common misconceptions that you see or mistakes couples making when it comes to hiring things?
Okay, people are going to hate me.
Spill.
But honestly, if you think in this country that you can have an outdoor dining reception without a plan B, I'm really sorry. I'm here to burst your bubble. You please, for the love of God, have a plan B, because I cannot tell you the amount of phone calls that we get the week of weddings where we've tried to push people and say, hey, look, I would be looking at a plan B. I'd be looking at how you're going to deal with rain or wind. Wind is another thing. People think it's just rain. No, if you're having outdoor dining and it's blowing a gale, you're screwed.
It's not a vibe.
Oh my God, it's the most, honestly, just my hair alone, I couldn't handle it. I believe it. But you have to think about it. And I know some people don't, because they're like, oh, it's outside the budget. Well, you can't have outdoor dining if it's going to be like that. I think that like I said, the amount of phone calls we get the week of weddings of panic, especially from like mothers of the bride or fathers of the groom, anything like that are going, oh my God, do you have a marquee available? And we're like, it's February and the height of wedding season. Absolutely not, we don't. So I think that is the biggest piece of advice I have and look, I've seen the pictures, I've watched the TikToks, I know how beautiful outdoor dining is, and you can, like, there is times where it works, but please think about how you're going to deal with the rain and the wind, because a lot of the time we just cannot trust the weather in this country. And so that would be the biggest piece of advice I'd have for people. And I know it's like people are going to think I'm really boring and probably a bit of a Grinch, but please.
No, it's so true. I've heard, so many stories about
God,
just getting caught
stories.
out, and you just actually can't try. Like, I don't care if it's the middle of summer, there'll be a downpour.
Honestly, how many like sun showers do you get?
Yeah.
Or, you get to 8 o'clock at night and then it pours down. Like, that happens all the time. And unfortunately, no one appreciates being dressed up and looking beautiful and then being rained on. And then the other thing is that, you've hired all this, especially with furniture, none of that can get wet. And I think that that's a big thing too, is that in no way, shape or form do we want to be stinging clients with, these massive bills for ruining furniture. But at the end of the day, that furniture is coming back from your wedding and going out to another wedding. So it's a really important aspect.
So important to think about. I think it's amazing how much content we get from social media and everything, but it is a lot from these stunning Europe weddings where it's like, 30 degrees at night in Italy, and it's amazing for
But they
al
probably had a
fresco.
marquee on standby, though. They probably did.
Or a
Those big
giant
budget
villa
weddings.
next to it. And we just don't have that kind of climate here. We really
No.
can't trust it.
No.
Yes, definitely rethink that one.
Yeah, please.
Kind of carrying on that theme, but you and your team must have seen it all, the wild weather, the tricky venues, the last minute changes. Do you have any sort of memorable or juicy behind the scenes stories you're happy to share and what people can learn from that?
Honestly, I say most days nothing surprises me. Nothing. Like everything has happened. We've had trucks break down. We have had only once have we nearly had a marquee blow away. And luckily there was no one in it. There was no furniture in it. It was on a packed down day, but a wind tunnel came through and it was close. We've had, I've had marquee walls go up in flames from people burning things. I've had, well, actually not go up in flames. That's such an exaggeration, but like burn holes in things. We've had, honestly, anything and everything has happened. That's just our industry. I think that it is just what it is. And you have to be a very certain type of person to work and to deal with what goes on in this industry, and kind of go with the flow and roll with the punches and kind of think on your feet and make sure that behind the scenes, even when things do go wrong, you're doing everything to fix them. And they do go wrong. I said this in Katie's podcast, but for us, our company is run by humans. We're human people, and we do not always get it right, or things go wrong. So, if a truck breaks down and your wedding is tomorrow, the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes to ensure that we still get to you is unbelievable. And I think that is all. I sometimes reckon I should have like some kind of reality TV show, because it just happens all the time. You get your truck service every how many months, and it still breaks down, and you're still having to get an entire class 2 truck of furniture to a wedding by the next day. It never stops, and there's no way that we would ever, and it has never happened, we've never not delivered, through storms, through cyclones, through COVID, through everything, we've never ever not delivered. So it really goes to show that, the people behind all aspects of this industry, you've never seen people go above and beyond more than you have in the events game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of last minute problem solving, and that's why you want the right vendors you can trust are just going to deal with that and make it work.
I think it's, and it's answering the phone, and it's, we've had times before where the wind has been so strong that it's blowing out lights and marquees, and, the wedding starts in 2 hours, and, we get people there to fix things and to kind of make sure that the bride's not noticing that things like this are happening. It's a massive part, and nothing surprises me.
The whole, logistics and timing are such a huge part of it, and making the whole wedding day run smoothly. Do you have any advice on that kind of thing to, ensure that everything runs to plan, especially dealing with all the different vendors?
Yes, yeah. I think that when it comes to logistics, communication is key. So we were finding, for example, we have like a really large back end of our company, which is logistics. So as you can imagine, if we're doing 400 weddings a season, the logistics of that is unreal. But we were finding, and I think it's the New Zealand like way of being, but people were very nonchalant. So they were like, you'd say, okay, we send out these questionnaires which ask so many questions, and it would be like, is there any specifics about packing? And they would be like, no, we're easy. It's totally like whenever. And so our logistics team, who have got other people going, you have to pack in at exactly 9 a.m. and you have to pack out at exactly 10 a.m. They were going, okay, these people we need to be specific, and these other people they're chill, they're easy, they've said whenever. And so then you get to the day and they're absolutely packing that, and they're really stressed out because they haven't realized how many other elements that go into things. So I would be making a very clear list, a very clear run of those days, not just the wedding day, the whole week leading up to that. So things like, when is your generator arriving? Because your generator needs to arrive before your marquee arrives, because we need to test your lighting, like all those kind of things. Throughout the 10 years of kind of things that have gone right and things that have gone wrong in terms of logistics, we've created these checklists and logistics questionnaires and kind of these run of the day PDFs that get sent to our clients. So we are prompting them to make those decisions and to kind of figure all that out, because even though, we do our best, the client still needs to be able to oversee all of it. So I think logistics wise, I would be a lot more of a hard ass than I would be on anything else, because it is really important. And it's the make or break of your stress levels. Why do you need to worry? Why should you be worrying about, when the generator's arriving, when if it's all set out and all ready to go, you are going to be fine and no one needs to stress. So I think that that's a massive part of it. Logistics is huge and you need to be on top of it. And you need to not be nonchalant, like enough with the chill, relaxed, like be real
Kiwis.
hard ass when it comes.
Yeah.
It is like, it's such a Kiwi mentality and I get it. And I'm probably very similar. But when it comes to when your marquee is being packed in, give us a time and really read everything. I think that it's a massive, and it's not just us. Every vendor has so many things they need you to read. Spend a day and actually read them.
So true. Yeah, amazing advice. I think, it's so much the communication with all your vendors. And then if you're just the kind of person that doesn't have time or can't deal with all of that, struggles making decisions, then maybe you need to book a wedding planner or a coordinator, assign someone to that job to
and
figure it
depending
all
on
out.
your budget, like a coordinator or a planner is worth their weight in gold. And I think that I could name 10 of them which are exceptional at what they do in this country, and I really think they are worth their weight. But if you cannot afford that, then you need to either do it yourself, or you need to find somebody in your group, in your kind of immediate group of people, who that is their job. And it's their job to communicate with the vendors, to read all the information, and to make sure they're filling everything out really thoroughly and kind of with as much detail as possible. Communication is key. And if, like you said, if you're a really busy person, or that's just not your specialty, find someone whose it is. And whether that's a coordinator or a friend or your partner or whoever, somebody needs to be on that, because I just couldn't think of anything worse than the stress of that lead up. And if you can mitigate that, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for those weddings where it is all these moving parts and you're not just rocking up to a venue that has everything there. You're building one from scratch, basically.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's such a massive thing. And, so many people, that is how their wedding days are going. They've got multiple vendors coming in. They've got so many aspects that they need that really clear process behind the scenes.
Amazing. You've given heaps of incredible advice. Is there any other advice that you would want a couple to know when it comes to styling and hire, or any part of that whole wedding planning process?
I think that, at the end of the day, this is your moment. It's no one else's. And I think have a clear vision, stick to what you want and what you love. Try very hard not to, and it is really hard not to listen to so many voices around you, but listen to the ones you trust and don't listen to the rest. You can get so caught up in the Pinterest boards and the socials and the people telling you everything, but at the heart of it, you know your vision, you know what you want, and at the end of the day, you're marrying someone that you truly want to spend the rest of your life with, and that's all that matters, and all the other little stuff just goes away at the end, and it turns into the most perfect day, no matter how many things go wrong. But please make sure you have a plan B if you're going to have it outside dining.
Yes. Key takeaway today,
Yes,
guys.
please.
We live in New Zealand, end of. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. I think everyone's going to get a lot out of this episode. And I think well, I don't know, I feel like you're everywhere and people would have heard of you and all the incredible work you do. But in case they haven't, where can we find out more about Lucy's, follow you on socials, all of that?
Oh my God, like I don't even know our handles. I'm pretty sure it's like Lucy's Events, at Lucy's Events. It's lucysevents.com. Best thing to do is when you're trying to figure out, you're at the start of your journey and you don't know where to start or kind of what to do. Our website is full of amazing inspiration and knowledge when it comes to our past couples who have done this before. Our blog, which is consistently updated, or if I was you, I'd just be going onto our contact form, starting a conversation and getting to meet one of our team. And from there, our team is so incredibly knowledgeable and they're so good at what they do. And I think once you start that conversation and you get that initial kind of knowledge of who we are, then a lot of the times it gets a lot easier. I think people start with us and they're overwhelmed and then it all starts to fall into place.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, I promise.
Yeah, amazing. So good. So many good resources there. So we'll link to everything in the show notes as well. And I know we've had quite a few of your clients on the podcast as well. So yeah, I know everyone raves at you, but definitely go and check out their work if you haven't already. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.